Hey guys, Dayln here, and welcome to this video. So, as you can see, this is going to be my Fight Kiln guide. I know I just released a guide recently, but I wanted to release another one. I have a Fight Kiln for my Boss Slayer task, so I figured why not. Fight Kiln is something that I find fairly easy, and I know some people are a little apprehensive about it, either because they don't know what to do, or, you know, they think it's a little bit more difficult than it really is. So I'm just going to be going over the obvious basics that I go over in every Fight Kiln, or every guide. Not specifically Fight Kiln, but every PVMing type guide. I'll be going over recommendations, requirements, the inventory and gear setups, and then I'll be showing you how to get through the Fight Kiln. This is obviously going to be a little bit different, as the entire Fight Kiln is just going to be sped up quite a bit, because obviously it takes me around 40 minutes to do it. It may take you slightly longer if it's either your first time or you don't have gear or stats as good as mine. But typically, I think an average time for probably the mid-tier to slightly higher tier player will easily be able to do it within an hour. So anyways, let's just get started. Okay, so there aren't too many requirements for the Fight Kiln. However, you know, some of them to some people might be slightly high. So you do need to finish the Elder Kiln quest. It's not super hard, but it's in the Czar quest line, so you need to get through all of those. And then you also need to have completed the fight caves at least once, and you need a fire cape to sacrifice to the Tokar so you can gain access to the Fight Kiln. Keep note that you only need one fire cape to be able to unlock the Fight Kiln indefinitely. You don't have to sacrifice a fire cape every single time you go into the kiln. One fire cape will unlock the entire Fight Kiln indefinitely, so you don't have to keep doing fight caves to access it. So those are the only two requirements. However, there are a bunch of recommendations that you need to have. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about the recommendations. So you do need to tri-brid in the Fight Kiln. You can't just drag or escape the entire thing, because there is a damage cap on monsters that aren't weak to melee, and vice versa with all the other combat styles. So you will need to tri-brid for this, so you are going to have high combat stats. Jagex recommends that you have 85 plus stats. However, obviously the higher the better, and it is possible with lower, but 85 is kind of the sweet spot to be able to finish the Fight Kiln efficiently and fairly quickly. 96 Overlord, obviously for overloads. Now this is a place where I would not really recommend extremes over overloads, because overloads obviously save you inventory space from having to bring all 3 extremes plus the defense potions, and it boosts for a continuous 5 minutes. So overloads here are pretty recommended if you're going to be using boosting pots. Of course, you can downgrade to extremes or supers if you just don't have the Overlord level, but overloads are going to be the most helpful thing you can use. For summoning, 88, 96, or 99, depending on what you want to use. A lot of people bring a pack-axe filled with prayer potions and food, and then switch to either a Titan or a Unicorn, depending on how comfortable you feel. I'm personally not even going to bring a pack-axe because I don't need one. However, like I said, if this is your first time, you've never done Fight Kiln before, probably should bring a Beast of Burden, be it a yak or a tortoise or something, plus a spare pouch in your inventory to be able to, you know, get the feel for it. And then also, once if and when your Beast of Burden runs out, you can bring, like I said, a Titan or a Unicorn to substitute. 92 or 95 prayer, obviously 92 for Soul Split, 95 for the Torment, Anguish, and Turmoil prayers. The 95 prayer isn't really needed. Obviously it speeds it up a little bit, but for the most part you'll be basically just soul splitting the entire thing except for the Jads. So 92 is ideal. You could easily do a Fight Kiln fairly quickly without the 95, so the base recommendations, 92 and 95 will just help. And then completion of Brink of Extinction for the Obsidian Armor. For those of you who don't know what the Obsidian Armor is, it is a set of armor that you can make from doing the Fight Cauldron minigame with, I think it's 85 smithing, and it is hybrid armor basically. It's pretty much like Void for specifically Czar creatures, so it ups, I'm pretty sure it ups either your damage or your accuracy or both against Czar creatures, so it's very helpful in the Fight Kiln. Plus the fact that it's hybrid armor, you just have to switch your helms to the corresponding combat style, so that's super helpful as well. So I'm going to be using Obsidian Armor, and that's one of the things that helps me do it so quickly, but I will be going over some alternatives if you just don't have access to that. Okay, so for gear, as usual, up downgrade based on stats and budget. I've kind of broken this up differently than I normally do. So the armor set that you're going to want to use is Obsidian. If you don't have access to that, War Priest is also very good. Recommended is the Zamorak or Ceradomin ones because the effects of the full set is better, in my opinion, than the Armadillo and Bandos ones. However, you know, it doesn't really matter, just to use whatever you have. I recommend bringing hybrid armor, obviously, because you're going to be tribriding, but if you don't have either Obsidian or War Priest, you can bring, like, next sets, tier 70 God Wars armor or Barrows, as a substitute. Just make sure you have a plate body and plate legs for each of the corresponding combat styles, because if you wear the wrong armor for the wrong combat style, it will kind of decrease your accuracy. Amulets of Fury, Dragon Rider, or Glory. I prefer the Fury because it's a good tribriding amulet, and it's better than Dragon Rider. Dragon Rider is better for mage, but it's not better for melee and range, so I kind of balance that out, that the Fury is better. The ring, Toggle Zo, charged, it will help you do damage against the Tokar creatures. So and you'll have it unlocked from doing the Fight Kiln, I'm pretty sure. So that's basically what you should use. However, you can use other things like a Berserker ring or a 6-stage circuit or something like that as well. Aura, Penance, or Vampirism, doesn't really matter. I personally use Penance because I don't get too damaged, especially with the Obsidian armor, so I don't really need to worry about that. Pocket Slot, you can use any helpful scrimshaw that you want to use. I don't really personally use them because I don't really find them useful for the situation of tribriding. However, like I said, you can use whatever you want. Cape, Completionist Cape, Max Cape, or Skill Cape. Once again, I recommend using a tribriding cape, just because it provides you bonuses in all 3 combat styles. So since you are going to be tribriding, you do need to bring a melee, range, and magic weapon. So I've provided some at the bottom. I'm sorry if they're kind of difficult to read on the background. But for melee, Noxious Scythe or Drygores, I'm going to be using Drygores. Most people will probably use Drygores because the Noxious Scythe is fairly expensive and not nearly as good as the Drygores. Downgrading to Chaotic Maul, Rapiers, or Longs. Downgrading to Ceradomin Sword or a God Sword. Personally, I would go with 2H weapons where possible because 1, it saves you inventory space, and 2, it's easier to switch. So personally, I would go for the 2H weapons over the dual wield weapons in this case, unless you just don't have 2H weapons to use, such as with melee. I only have Drygores, I don't have a Noxious Scythe, and I want to use the best melee weapons that I have. For range, obviously Noxious Longbow or Ascension Crossbows, or downgrading to Royal Crossbow, Chaotic Crossbows, or the Zerite Bow. And for magic, the Noxious Staff or Seismic, Chaotic Staff or Virtus, or Armadillo Battle Staff, Polypore Staff, or the Staff of Light at the very bottom. So those are basically the weapons you can use. Like I said, I think that you should probably go for the 2H wielding over the dual wielding just because it's easier to switch. However, it doesn't really make a huge difference. It'll just take up more inventory spaces and take a little bit more effort to switch. But if you can, if you're fine with getting around that, you know, it won't be too big of a deal. Okay, so lastly, before we actually get into the Fight Kiln, I'm going to be talking about the inventory and setup. Obviously, once again, up and down grade based on stats and budget where necessary. So I bring 3 overload flasks and 3 prayer renewals for an hour and a half, kind of give or take a little bit. Usually I can do a Fight Kiln in around 40 to 45 minutes. However, not everyone's going to be able to do that, so you might want to bring 4 flasks to be safe, but 3 should definitely get most people through. I only bring 4 prayer renewals and 2 emergency food, the food being sharks here, but you can also use like Ceradomin brews or rocktails or whatever. Because I've done Kiln a few times in the Evolution of Combat, it is fairly easy, especially if you're going to be using the Penance Aura. You won't have too much problems with prayer. You may, like I said, you may need to bring a few prayer potions in case maybe you don't get damaged, but for the most part that should be able to that coupled with the prayer renewal should easily be able to sustain you. The food I bring for the Dill Wave because that's the only wave where I really get hit sometimes a good amount. It just depends on how unlucky you get with the Dill Wave and the special attacks. And also keep in mind that if you have done the World Wakes and have unlocked Guthix's Blessing, you can also use that ability for healing as necessary. So it just really depends on how comfortable or uncomfortable you are with that. So you may want to bring more food and prayer potions If you want, especially if it's your first time and you don't know how many you're going to need, you may want to fill up a Beast of Burden with food and prayer potions. You obviously, if you're going to be using obsidian armor, you're going to want to bring the obsidian helm switches coupled, or if you're going to be using void, if you choose to use that, which I didn't mention earlier, but you can, or the void helm switches. You also obviously want to bring your mage and ranged weapons. Don't forget your runes, water spells, because obviously the Zara creatures are weak to water. You do need to have a pickaxe for the dills, so make sure you have that in your inventory. Don't go in without it, otherwise you really won't be able to finish. And then either, if you're going to be using a Beast of Burden, bring an extra Beast of Burden pouch, and if you think you may have time afterwards, or once you use up all the food and potions in your Beast of Burden, then you can bring like a unicorn or a steel titan or like a fire titan or something, so, or an iron titan, a fighting familiar basically, or you can use a unicorn for some added healing if you need it at the very end. Like I said, you don't really need too much depending on obviously your stats and your gear, but for the most part, most people probably won't need too much. As you can see, those are my action bars. Depending on what you're going to be, which combat style, mage, or range you're going to be using on the Jads, you want to have protect from magic and protect from range on that action bar. I also find an easy way to switch between action bars is binding your action bar switches in your control panel to the left bracket, the right bracket, and the slash button next to it. So those are the buttons I bind them to. Obviously you can bind them to any buttons you want, but I find those are fairly easy ones to bind them, so it's easy switching. Alternatively, you can also just create a hybrid bar, but I find that this to be the easiest way to do it. So anyways, now that we're done with this, we are going to be getting into actually doing the Fight Kiln. Okay, so when it comes down to doing the Fight Kiln, just obviously go and teleport there with your Tacklezo and sacrifice your fire cape if you haven't already, and just enter and you'll start the Fight Kiln. So for the first 10 waves, obviously waves 1 through 10, the waves are going to be mostly focused on rangers, so you're going to want to have your melee weapons out for the most part. There are a few meleeers and majors thrown in there, but you can either switch if you want, but you can also take them out with your Dragors or whatever melee weapons you have as well. A lot of it depends on your accuracy, so it kind of also depends on what armor you're wearing. Like if you're wearing the obsidian armor, you can easily take out pretty much any monster with any combat style. Obviously using its weakness will be faster, but not like significantly faster except for a couple monsters. So I think the first thing that I'll talk about is the crystal drops. So every odd numbered wave, so wave 1, 3, 5, etc., etc., there will be a crystal drop. So the only crystals that I recommend you actually picking up would be the invulnerability crystal, because that will give you obviously invulnerability for around, I think, what is it, like 15 seconds or so. I'm pretty sure. So, but it gives you invulnerability, so it's easy to like tank Jads because you don't get hit. There are 3 of them that spawn, one on wave 1, one on wave 13, and one on wave 25. I recommend picking up all of them since they stack, why not? The rest of the crystals you can take at your own discretion, however, I don't really use them. I use one magic crystal during the Hakan because it just speeds things up because I'm using mage to fight them, but once again you can also pick up the range crystals if you're planning on like ranging Jads or ranging Hakan or something, or the strength crystals if you're going to be planning on meleeing. So, but the rest of them, they're really not necessary. The Constitution Crystal boosts your Constitution super high, and the Restoration Crystal obviously restores your prayer and HP. But I don't really personally think you need them because for the most part it's super easy to deal with. So obviously on wave 10 there's going to be a Jad. I mage the Jad, but also with the Steel Titan. If you just use a Steel Titan spec, takes out a lot of the health. So if you have a Steel Titan, that will definitely use a spec on all the Jads because it'll speed up Jad fights a lot. Not that the Jad fights are super long anyways, just remember to have your prayers on your action bar and you should be fine. Waves 11 through 20 are focused on majors, so you want to have your ranged weapons out, just by the way. minutes. You may notice some blipping around in my clips. It's just because I paused and started and resumed my recordings a lot, just so I wouldn't lose a lot of footage at one time. So just in case maybe I lost one part, I could just be like, okay, I lost this one part. But yeah, there was another invulnerability crystal. Once again, pick it up. It'll be helpful on wave 35 and 36 with the Jads. For any of the dills which spawn, you know, they don't spawn too much. Wave 28 is a wave full of dills. It's all dills, but the rest of them, there's only like one, and most of the time, if you notice it, you can trap it behind the middle rock or something. So as you can see, the L-shaped rock at the south end is a safe spot for pretty much all the waves up until, I think, wave 20. So you can use that as a safe spot if you need one, but for the most part, most people probably won't need one, unless you're just doing this at a fairly low level. But if you're kind of a mid to high level player, you won't really need the safe spots for that. The only safe spots you'll really need is for the Jads, and that's about it. So let's see. So I'm trying to think. So I actually found out that I don't actually think you need a pickaxe in your inventory to fight the dills, because from what I was seeing on my chat box, the pickaxe in your tool belt actually does work. So I'm not sure. I think they've probably changed it since I last did the research on it, because last time I heard that that didn't work. But you know, I guess it does work. From what it said in my chat box, it does work. I would, to be honest, bring one just in case maybe it doesn't, or if it was just random or something, I don't know. But I would bring one just to be safe, because it would be nothing worse than getting to a dill wave and not having it work. And it's only like one inventory space, it's not too big of a deal. But if it does work for you and it wasn't a fluke, you can just use your dual weapons or your 2H weapons to take out the dills without having to switch. So wave 21 through 30 are focused on melee creatures, so you're going to want to have your mage weapons out for the most part. So these are really easy waves. Mages are really OP, so yeah, it's going to be super quick to get through these waves. I've completed this fight kiln in about 35 minutes, faster than I normally do, but I think that's just because I didn't use a Beast of Burden and I brought a Steel Titan, because I only drank one prayer potion, and I only needed that prayer potion because I needed to renew my familiar, not because I actually needed the prayer. So basically I could go through an entire fight kiln with no food and no potions, because with the penance aura and the prayer renewals and the overloads, I didn't need them. But I would recommend, if you've never been to fight kiln, you don't know your abilities with it yet, to bring food and potions just in case. So there's another invulnerability crystal which you may or may not want to pick up, but you only really need two, maybe one in case you get into a sticky situation, but you don't really need them. Maybe you want one for the dill wave, but I don't really think it's necessary because the dill wave is pretty easy to deal with. So the dill wave is actually wave 28, so that's coming up next. The best way that I found to do it is go stand in the northeast corner of the room. Equip your pickaxe if you need it. If not, just equip both your melee weapons. And there's only one dill that spawns here, so you can easily dispatch it. There's also a large major, which you all take care of after you kill this one dill. After you kill the major, then you run over to the west, and there's another dill that you take out. And then after that one dill is killed, you run south, and there's two dills. You can either trap them behind each other, or you can just deal with both of them. And then to the east, there's two more dills that you will deal with. And once again, you can either trap them behind each other like I have, or deal with both of them at the same time. So the thing about dills is that they do have a special attack, and they can hit you for about 900 per attack. So that can be a little bit damaging, depending on how lucky or unlucky you get with the dills doing their special on you. So that's why you have the extra food, just in case you need it for the dill wave. That's the only wave where I would think you may need food, unless you mess up on a Jad wave or something. But the Jads are super easy, to be honest. Like, they go down really quick. So anyways, that's how you do the dill waves. They're really simple, so don't worry too much about the dill waves, because they're not hard. One thing to keep in mind, Jad waves before wave 30, they always happen on a multiple of 10, so waves 10, wave 20, and wave 30 will have a Jad. To safe spot the Jad, all you need to do, the middle rock, just stand on the northeast side of the rock, and it'll be safe spot for every single Jad except for wave 35. They'll be trapped behind the rock. So if you're in doubt about a Jad being on a wave or whatever, just stand behind the middle rock on the east side of the middle rock, and it'll safe spot any Jad except for wave 35. So that's just a simple way to do it. These waves are kind of a little more obscure. This wave obviously was just rangers. This one is meleeers, and the next one will be majors. And then after that, you'll get into some jads, which are pretty easy. Wave 35, like I said, is really the only somewhat difficult one, and it's not even hard. That's why you have the invulnerability crystal. So wave 34 does have a jad. You'll have a cutscene before it, so it'll be easy to discern when it's coming. So just stand on the northeast side of the north rock, or of the middle rock, and just attack the meleeers and then kill the jad. So when it comes down to wave 35, it's really easy. Just go to the northeast corner of the arena, as I've done. Turn on turmoil, equip your dragors or whatever melee weapon you have. As soon as the jad spawns on top of you, because this is the corner where he'll spawn, just pop an invulnerability crystal, and you can use berserk if you have enough adrenaline, like I did, and the jad will go down extremely fast, and then you can just dispatch the rest of the creatures. So it'll be super easy to deal with. Obviously, kill the jad first, because the rest of them are fairly minor to deal with. So that's basically what you do for wave 35. It's super simple as long as you have an invulnerability crystal. There are ways to do it without the invulnerability crystal, but it's basically the easiest way. This is the easiest way to do it. So wave 36, the wave after this one, will have 2 jads. Once again, just stand on the northeast side of the middle rock, and they'll be lured over to you. So you can kill. It doesn't really matter which side of which one you kill, because while you're attacking one, the other one can't attack you as long as you're standing on one side. But I basically just use an invulnerability crystal and dragored them down real quick. That's how I did it, and that's one of the other reasons that having 2 invulnerability crystals is nice, because it helps on the double jad wave. So for Hakan, he's super simple. He just takes a long time because his head goes under the lava quite often. When that happens, just attack the tentacles. I popped a magic crystal for this wave since I'm killing him with magic. It was the easiest thing to do, up your damage with magic. Although keep in mind that it does lower your defense, so if you're kind of either on the low side on defense, or you know, you're low on health and whatnot and you can't afford to get hit too much, don't worry about it, just attack them. So if you kind of get booted out at the end like I did, just re-enter the Fight Kiln and talk to the Tokar, and he'll give you a reward. I don't know why I got booted out. It may have been something to do with the fact I clicked somewhere or whatever. So if that happens, just do that. I got an onyx because I don't need the capes because I already have all 3 of them. So anyways, that's how you finish the Fight Kiln. It's super easy. It just takes some time. Like I said, this took me 35 minutes, and it'll probably take most of you guys longer, especially if this is your first or second time and you're not really sure about Kiln yet. But once you get the hang of it, it'll be like maybe a half an hour to 45-minute time investment to do one. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, leave it in a comment or send me a PM on RS, and I'll try and get back to you about that. But yeah, this is basically the way I do Fight Kilns, because I'm pretty comfortable with them at this point. But for those of you obviously who are not, yeah, you can just use this guide. There are tons of guides on the forum. You can use, or on YouTube on the forums. There probably are guides on the forums, and there's also like the RuneScape wiki and Google and stuff. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys yeah, I hope it'll help you getting your Rhino capes or whatever, the Tokar capes. And yeah, so anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. See you later. Thanks.